Across West Texas, generations-old cotton gins are closing for good. In just 2 decades, Texas lost more than 100 gins, shrinking from 260 to 160. Now farmers are stranded in a growing gin desert, forced to haul their cotton for miles, or to give up the crop entirely. For rural families, this is not just numbers. These shutdowns erase a way of life. But what chain reaction is turning Texas from Cotton King into a cautionary tale? For one West Texas family, the cotton gin was more than a business. It was the heartbeat of the town. 4 generations worked side by side, their names etched on ledgers dating back to the early 1930s. The gin's whistle once signaled the start of harvest, and the hum of machinery filled the air from August through December. In its busiest seasons, the plant ran day and night, pressing out hundreds of bales, with neighbors and cousins working every shift. Payroll records show that at its peak, the gin supported nearly 40 families. Wages paid out on Fridays rippled through the grocery store, the school, the cafe on Main Street. But as years passed, droughts lingered and cotton yields shrank. The volume of cotton delivered to the gin fell by half. Costs for electricity and repairs doubled. Even as the family patched old machines and cut expenses, the math no longer worked. The last season, the gin processed barely 15,000 bales, less than half the break-even point. There was no money left for upgrades, no way to keep up with insurance and taxes. When the doors finally closed, 28 workers lost their jobs overnight. The site that once anchored the community now sits silent, its empty buildings slowly giving way to weeds. What was once a gathering place for harvest celebrations and Saturday suppers is now a reminder of what has been lost. For the family, the end of the gin was the end of an era, a century of work and memory, gone with the last load of cotton. In towns across the Texas plains, stories like this are unfolding, leaving behind empty structures and fading names on weathered signs. Across Texas, the contraction of cotton gins is measured in hard numbers, not just memories. Around the year 2000, the state supported approximately 260 active cotton gins, anchoring the rural economy from the Panhandle to the Gulf. Today, that number has fallen to about 160, a loss of more than 100 gins in just over 2 decades. Industry estimates from the Texas Cotton Ginners Association and regional economists, cross-checked against USDA data, confirm this decline. In 2023 and 2024 alone, at least 15 additional gins announced closure or consolidation, many in the West Texas Panhandle and South Plains, the very heart of Texas cotton production. This isn't just a temporary dip. Once a gin shuts its doors, it almost never reopens. The capital required to restart runs into millions in equipment, repairs, and compliance, making revival nearly impossible. The trend is visible on any map. Counties that once boasted 3 or 4 gins now have 1, if any. Some regions have become what growers call gin deserts, with no facility within 50 or even 100 miles. The numbers tell the story: a 40% reduction in gins since 2000, and the pace of shutdowns has only accelerated in recent years. Each closure removes a critical link from the cotton supply chain, with no easy way back. The scale of this contraction is unprecedented in the modern era of Texas agriculture. Every lost gin represents not just the end of a family business, but a permanent gap in the infrastructure that once made Texas the nation's top cotton state. The data leaves no room for doubt. This is a structural crisis, measured in hundreds of missing gins and thousands of lost jobs across the state. A cotton gin's survival depends on a simple equation. The number of bales processed must cover the mountain of fixed costs that never go away. In Texas, most independent and cooperative gins need to run between 25,000 and 30,000 bales each season just to break even. But in the heart of the West Texas plains, many plants are now running at 15,000 to 20,000 bales, a gap that spells automatic insolvency. Economists tracking USDA and Texas A and M budgets point to the hard numbers behind these closures. Building a modern gin from the ground up now runs $5 million to $8 million. Even a basic upgrade to keep older equipment serviceable costs $1 million to $2 million every few years. These are not optional expenses. Without them, breakdowns and lost bales become routine. Operating costs have surged by roughly 30% since 2020. Electricity, the lifeblood of the gin, has nearly doubled in price. Insurance premiums and property taxes climb higher each year. Even if a gin manages to hold the line on labor, every bale under the break, even point, adds to the deficit. The math is relentless. A plant designed for 30,000 bales that only gins 18,000 cannot make up the difference by cutting corners. Fixed costs, debt, insurance, and compliance remain. The more the volume drops, the more each bale must carry in overhead. For many West Texas operators, the calculator leaves no room for hope. At current volumes and costs, the business model simply collapses. Charts and spreadsheets confirm what families and field crews already know. Without enough cotton, the numbers never add up. Maria Alvarez starts her morning long before sunrise, checking weather apps and spreadsheets at the kitchen table. For years, her family planted nothing but cotton on their South Plains acreage. But after running the numbers for 2024, the choice was clear. Cotton meant a loss of $350 for every acre they put in the ground. Extension budgets and her own trucking invoices told the same story. There was no way to make it work. The nearest gin is now 80 miles away since the last local facility closed. Each trip with a loaded trailer adds $20 per bale just in hauling costs. For a mid-sized farm like Maria's, that is thousands of dollars gone before the cotton even reaches the gin scales. She used to negotiate rates with the gin manager down the road, but now she has to sign a contract months ahead, locking in prices and delivery windows with a corporate operator who sets the terms. If the gin fills up, her loads can be turned away, forcing even longer hauls or weeks of waiting in the field. Faced with these costs, Maria switched half her acreage to wheat and sorghum, crops that do not need ginning, do not carry the same transport penalties, and can be sold locally. She is not alone. Across the South Plains, young farmers are making the same calculation, moving away from cotton not because they want to, but because the numbers leave them no choice. The loss is not just financial. It is a shift in identity for families who have grown cotton for generations, now forced to adapt or give up the crop entirely. Inside a working cotton gin, the process begins when trucks unload seed cotton, which is lint, seeds, and field debris, into massive hoppers. Conveyor belts feed the raw crop through dryers and cleaners, stripping out burrs and sticks. Gin stands, powered by rows of saws, pull the lint from the seeds. The cleaned fiber is pressed into dense bales weighing 500 pounds each, and each bale is tagged and sampled for USDA classing. These grades, length, strength, and color, determine the price farmers will receive. Every step relies on skilled hands. Gin manager Luis Martinez oversees a crew that shrinks each year, struggling to fill shifts as local workers disappear and H-2A visa rules complicate hiring. With fewer mechanics and seasonal laborers, breakdowns last longer, and the pace slows. Even a short delay can mean cotton sits too long, risking quality and value. The entire system depends on a workforce that is harder to find every season. Large corporate gin companies now control a growing share of Texas's remaining ginning capacity, absorbing smaller independents that can no longer survive on thinning margins. Sale records and merger filings show a steady stream of buyouts across the plains, with local owners replaced by regional managers who answer to distant headquarters. As these deals close, surplus equipment is stripped from shuttered sites, some shipped out of state, some loaded onto containers bound for overseas buyers, and the rest broken down for scrap. Each truckload that leaves represents permanent capacity loss. Meanwhile, the pressure to process more cotton with fewer facilities leads to rushed ginning and longer waits, especially when weather delays stack up. USDA classing sheets confirm the result. More Texas bales are downgraded for moisture and color, costing farmers dollars per pound. The China trade war further slashed export demand, shrinking acres and leaving gins with even less to run. Yet as the crisis deepens, neither state nor federal programs offer direct help for gins. Processing infrastructure falls through the cracks, excluded from the disaster relief meant to keep rural economies afloat. As Texas loses nearly half of its gins, entire rural economies hang in the balance. Each closure is not just a business lost. It is an infrastructure collapse with no easy return. The question now is who will bridge the gap when the backbone of America's cotton industry is disappearing? Share your thoughts below.